Alright, so in this video we're talking about the law of cosines. In the previous video we talked about laws of sines, and yeah, it's a lot of scratch work, and it only works, the bad thing about laws of sines is it only works in certain situations. Same thing for law of cosines. It's great, it'll help you solve any type of triangle, but you have to have certain pieces of the triangle to be able to use it. And it is a law, so you need to make sure you know it. Now, the law of cosines can be rewritten in 3 different ways based on whatever you're given or whatever you're trying to find. I always say you need to focus on the angle that you're using. So for instance, if you're given angle A, this is the way you want to write it. If you're given angle B, this is the way you want to write it. And if you're given angle C, this is the way you want to write it. And if you kind of notice the formulas, it kind of looks like the Pythagorean theorem, but it's slightly modified. Okay, so the Pythagorean theorem would mean we had a right triangle, but here, law of cosine works for any triangle, so that's why we have this modification on the end. So in example 19, we're going to solve triangle ABC, and we're given some information. We're told that side A is 12, side C is 16, and angle B is 38 degrees. Alright, so again, you always start off with what angle are you given. So in this problem, we're given angle B. So I like to circle the angle I'm given, that way I know to focus on it. And so since I'm given angle B, I'm going to write my formula this way. So B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC times the cosine of angle B. And now I'm actually just going to literally plug in what I know. So B squared is what I'm trying to find. So side B. So I still have B squared. Side A I know, so I have 12 squared, and when I plug in, I'm going to put in parentheses, plus side C I know, so 16 squared minus 2 times A times C times the cosine of angle B. Angle B was 38 degrees. Alright, great. So essentially what I can do is type all of this in my calculator if I'm very careful and include the parentheses, and I'll know what B squared is. So that's what I'm going to do right now. As soon as I know B squared, then I'm just going to take the square root to find side B. Alright, so I have 12 squared plus 16 squared minus 2 times 12 times 16 times the cosine of 38 degrees. Now before I hit enter, I want to make sure I'm in degree mode, and I am, because the reason why I'm in degree mode is because I was given degrees in my problem. Since I double checked that, I'm ready to go. I'm going to make sure I've got everything typed in correctly. Alright, I do, so hit enter. I'm told that B squared is 97.40. I'm rounding the 2 decimal places. But I don't want B squared. I want B. So I need to square root this. So B, I'm going to square root it in my calculator. So the square root of the answer that I just found is about 9.87. Again, I'm rounding. I'm not going to plug it into my picture, but I know it's right here and I have it. Okay, so 9.87. Actually, I will go ahead and plug it in my picture. So 9.87 right here. So you've got to keep in mind that's rounded. So since I rounded there, it might affect my other answers as I solve. All right, well now I have all 3 sides. So what I want to do now is to find my angles. So typically what's going to happen is when you're only going to use the law of cosines once. Once you use the law of cosines to find one of the pieces of your triangle, then you're going to have enough information to use the law of sines to finish solving your triangle. So again, from the previous video, we know the law of sines is the sine of A divided by A equals the sine of angle B divided by the side B, and the sine of angle C divided by C. So what I'm going to do now is pick one of my other angles that I'm going to find. I'm going to go ahead and say, let's find, well, we know angle B. Let's see, we know angle B, and we now know side B, so I definitely need to use this ratio. And I'm going to go ahead and find angle A, so I'm going to use this ratio. So now I'm going to plug in. All right, so when I plug in, I have sine of angle A, that's what I'm trying to find, divided by 12, I know side A, is equal to the sine of angle B, which I do know that, and we just found side B, so 9.87. Again, that was rounded, so it might skew our answer just a little bit, but it should be okay. Again, I've got an equation and I only have one missing piece, so that's good. So like we did in the previous video now, we're starting off by getting sine of A by itself first. To do that, I'm going to multiply by 12. So I end up with sine of angle A is equal to 12 times my fraction, sine of 38, divided by 9.87. Close parentheses because I have a fraction for the whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and type this in my calculator, but again, I'm solving for angle A, not sine of A. So this is just a halfway point. Alright, so using my calculator, I'm still in degree mode. I have 12 times parentheses sine of 38 divided by 9.87, close parentheses. And I get about sine of A, sine of angle A is approximately, I lost my calculator, is approximately 0.75. Alright, well now I want angle A. So angle A means I have to do sine inverse on each side. So sine inverse of 0.75 gives me angle A. So second sine of 0.75. And that's about 48.59. I'm going to round to the nearest whole degree. Again, I'm rounding. The more decimals you include, the more accurate. I'm going to the nearest whole degree. So angle A is about 49 degrees. Since I know that, I'm going to put it in my picture. And now that I have two angles, I can very easily find the third angle because I know all three angles have to add up to 180. So I'm going to say 180 minus 38 minus 49, and that's going to give me angle C. So I'm going to use my calculator. So 180 minus 38 minus 49, which is 93. So angle C is 93 degrees, approximately. Again, I rounded, so 93 degrees. So I've solved the triangle. Solving the triangle means you find all the missing pieces. Okay, so we start with law of cosines. So law of cosines means we have a really hard triangle. It's kind of like you're starting off with a jigsaw puzzle. You only have a few pieces in, law of cosines. Then you're about halfway through the puzzle, so you go to law of sines, a little bit easier. And then once you have law of sines done, you have almost all of the puzzle completed, and then you just find the missing angles at 180 minus your other two angles. Okay, and that's how you solve it. Do another example. We want to solve triangle ABC. We're told the side length of A, side length of B, and the side length of C. Alright, so law of cosines. We're not given any angle at all. So what I'm going to do is I can pick law of cosines. I can pick whichever way I want to write it. I'm just going to start off by finding angle A. Okay, so I'm going to use the first way to write it. So A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC times the cosine of angle A. So that's what I'm going to write down. A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC times the cosine of angle A. And I'm going to plug in what I know now. So I know side A is 8, so 8 squared equals side B, which is 18 squared, plus side C, which is 13 squared, minus 2 times 18 times 13 times the cosine of angle A. Alright, so what I want to do now is clean this up. So 8 squared is 64. Now I'm just taking baby steps. 18 squared. Okay, I don't know what that is off the top of my head. I can make a guess, but why guess when you have the calculator? So 18 squared is 324. 13 squared, I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's 169. But let's double check it. Good, I got that one right. Now, again, baby steps. Minus 2 times 18 times 13. So negative 2 times 18 times 13 equals negative 468. So minus 468 times the cosine of angle A. Now, you have to be very careful here, and this is where a lot of people make mistakes. A lot of people say 324 plus 169 minus 468. You can't do that. This minus 468 is attached to the cosine, so you cannot subtract it yet. So instead, what we're going to do is just add 324 and 169. Again, baby steps. And get 493. So 64 equals 493 minus 468 times the cosine of angle A. Again, this minus 468 is attached to the cosine, so you cannot do anything with it yet. If it helps you to rewrite the problem temporarily, I'm just going to make a quick equivalency and say x is equal to cosine of angle A. If it helps you to rewrite the problem so you can see it a little bit better, it might be a good idea. So 64 is equal to 493 minus 468x. We've solved stuff like this before, so essentially what I'm doing is solving by x. Okay? So when I solve, I'm doing the reverse order of operations. And I'm looking for add and subtract first, then multiply and divide, then any exponents, and then any parentheses. So add and subtract. Here's a positive 493, so I'm going to subtract 493 on both sides. Cancel out. So 64 minus 493. Again, using my calculator to help out. Is negative 429. And that's equal to negative 468x. Again, I'm just pretending the cosine of A is x for right now. Now I want to get x by itself, so I'm going to divide by negative 468 on both sides. Cancel out. So now, using my calculator, I have negative 429 divided by negative 468. And I get positive 0.92. So x equals positive 0.92. And again, I'm rounding. But remember, I said that x is equal to the cosine of A. So really what I have is the cosine of angle A is equal to 0.92 if I round. Okay, so everywhere I see an x, I can replace it with cosine A. That's a trick that you can do if it helps you. I want to get angle A by itself, so I need to do inverse cosine on both sides. So angle A is equal to cosine inverse of 0.92. And now I'm still in degree mode, so second cosine, 0.92. Enter. And I get about, I'm going to go to the nearest whole degree, so angle A is about 23 degrees. Okay, great. So I had to do a lot of work to find angle A. Like I said, you have a jigsaw puzzle and not a lot of information. So 23 degrees. Now, since I know that angle, I should be able to go to law of sines. Remember, you're typically only going to do law of cosines once, then you're going to go to law of sines. I know side A and angle A, so that's the ratio I want to use. Now I want to find angle B. So I want to say sine of A, sine of angle A divided by A is equal to the sine of angle B divided by side B. And I'm going to plug in what I know. I know angle A. So I have sine of 23 degrees, which I just found, divided by side of A, which was 8, and side B is 18. So angle B is what I'm finding. Side B was 18. I'm just going to go back up one more time and double check that I have all the correct information. I do. Now, we're trying to get sine of B by itself first. I'm going to multiply by 18 on both sides. So when we do that, we have sine of angle B is equal to 18 times our fraction. Sine of 23 degrees divided by 8. We have a fraction, so it goes in parentheses. Again, we're solving for angle B, not sine of B. So I'm going to use my calculator. So 18 times the parentheses sine of 23 divided by 8, close the parentheses. And I get about 0.88. So sine of angle B is about 0.88. Again, we're rounding, but I want to get angle B by itself, so I need to do inverse sine on both sides. 0.88. So I'm using my calculator. I'm still in degree mode. So second sine of 0.88 equals about, I'm going to round to the nearest whole degree, so angle B is about 62 degrees. Great. So I'm going to go and plug in my picture. Angle B is 62 degrees. Now to finish solving the triangle, I just need to find the last angle here. And I know that all three angles add up to 180 degrees, so I have 180 minus 23 minus 62, and that's going to be equal to angle C. Alright, so again, use my calculator for the last step. So 180 minus 23 minus 62 degrees. Oops, I said times, so I typed it in wrong. So try again. 180 minus 23 minus 62 equals 95 degrees. So 95 degrees. So I've solved the triangle. In this case, I had to find all three angles. I started with law of cosines, had to do lots of work. To go to law of sines, still had to do some work, but not as much. And then finally, had to find the last angle, very little work, okay? So when you're solving a triangle, it gets very messy, but you have to use the law of cosines, law of sines. Typically, you're going to start off with the law of cosines based on the information you're given. And then finally, sometimes we can find the area. We saw how we can find the area of any triangle. We can also find the area using this formula if you like that better. It's called Heron's formula. Heron was just the guy that came up with this formula. The area of the triangle is given by the area is equal to the square root of s times the parenthesis of s minus a times the parenthesis of s minus b times the parenthesis of s minus c. Where a, b, and c are all the sides of the triangle that you're given, and s is called the semi-perimeter. So what you first have to do is calculate the semi-perimeter, and then you just plug it in, and then you also plug in the sides of your triangle and take the square root. So in example 21, that's what we're doing. So we know we're going to just use Heron's formula, okay? This is very useful if you're not given an angle, but you still need to find the area. So this is when you would use Heron's formula. If you're given an angle, then you would use the formula for area that we talked about in the previous video. So I'm going to say area is equal to the square root of s times s minus a times s minus b times s minus c. All of that is underneath the square root. Before I can do anything, though, I have to do some scratch work and find s. So the scratch work I'm going to do in purple. S is called the semi-perimeter, and it's just 1/2 parentheses of a plus b plus c. I'm getting all this information from right above, and I'm just going to plug in what I know. So I have 1/2, that's a fraction that goes in parentheses, of 22 plus 40 plus 50. Parentheses, use the calculator. So I have 1/2 times parentheses of 22 plus 40 plus 50. Close parentheses, and my semi-perimeter is 56. Great, so in my equation now I'm ready to plug in. So area equals the square root of 56 times 56 minus side A, which is 22, times 56 minus side B, which is 40, times 56 minus side C, which is 50. Close parentheses. All right, so now I'm going to just type this in my calculator. I'm going to do the inside of the square root first. Okay, so I'm not worried about the square root symbol yet. Again, baby steps. The 56 parentheses 56 minus 22 parentheses 56 minus 40 parentheses 56 minus 50 close parentheses. You have to do all the parentheses, otherwise it will not come out correctly. So I get 182 or 182,784. Let's write that a little bit better. So the square root of that is my area. So I'm just going to take the square root now of that answer. And I get about 427.53. So the area, I lost my calculator. The area of this triangle is about 427.53 units squared. All right, and that's it for this video. So again, law of cosines, then law of sines, then 180 minus the other two angles. Use Heron's formula for the area of a triangle if you're not given an angle. If you're given an angle, use the area formula we talked about in the previous video. As always, if you've got any questions, let me know.